Cold steel groaned beneath the weight of a distant explosion as I scrambled through the derelict ship's shadowed corridors, heart pounding like a war drum. Come on, I muttered under my breath, fingers scraping against the rusted railing. The flickering lights overhead cast long, jittery shadows, and every creak of the hull sounded like a scream in the silence. I could hear their chatter, alien voices, cold and merciless, closing in on my cargo. They were getting closer. What? Too close. I wasn't sure if what I'd just awakened was salvation or doom, but one thing was certain: I had no choice but to unleash it on Talia, smuggler, scavenger, survivor, hardened by the scars of the galactic underworld and tempered by years of running from worse than just the law. Every job I took was a gamble, but this one was a loaded gun pressed to my temple, the kind that could either bankroll the next 10 years of my life or bury me forever. In the void between stars, I slid around a corner, chest heaving, and glanced back. The alien pursuers were sleek, tall, with elongated limbs and eyes like polished obsidian. Their voices were a harsh symphony, unintelligible but tinged with that bone-chilling certainty of hunters who never missed. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing myself to slow my breathing, focusing on the cargo strapped tight to my back. This thing is not just a package, I whispered to myself. It's a key to something powerful, something ancient. The moment I cracked open that sealed container, I felt the air shift, like the ship itself was holding its breath. The artifact inside wasn't just a relic. It was alive, humming with energy that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. Hey, Talia, you still with me? I heard Jax's voice crackle through my comlink, ragged but steady. Jax was my partner in crime, or at least the closest thing I had to one. His voice was the tether to reality I desperately needed. Barely, I rasped, skidding to a halt in a narrow junction. They're right behind me. I've got the cargo, but whatever's in here, it's waking up. Unleash it, Jax's skepticism was clear, even over static. I don't have a choice. The corridor moaned again, steel twisting as if the ship itself was alive and angry. I pressed my back against the cold wall, trying to steady my shaking hands as I pulled a small device from my belt, an ancient key I'd scavenged years ago, rumored to be compatible with this very artifact. It was a gamble, but all I had. My mind raced back to the deal that brought me here, the whispers of a forgotten vessel lost in the outer rim, carrying something that could shift power balances across the galaxy. I didn't believe in fairy tales, but desperation makes believers out of cynics. That when I finally found the derelict, floating like a ghost in the void, I knew I was either going to be rich or dead, or maybe both. Suddenly, the corridor lit up with alien searchlights, harsh beams slicing through the darkness. The voices grew louder, closer. My heart hammered. I shoved the key into the artifact's interface, fingers trembling. The container hissed open, revealing a pulsing core of light blue and alive, like a miniature star trapped inside a cage. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through my bones. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment I thought the whole place might collapse around me. Get ready, Jax, I whispered, voice barely audible over the rising noise. This is going to get messy. From the shadows, the aliens stepped forward, weapons drawn. Their leader, a tall figure with a scar slicing across. His face spoke in a guttural tone, words I couldn't understand, but felt like knives. I raised my blaster, finger tight on the trigger, but my eyes never left the glowing core in my hands. Then, without warning, the artifact exploded with blinding light. Energy surged out in waves, throwing the aliens backward like rag dolls. The ship groaned again, alarms blaring to life in a cacophony of warning bells. I fell to one knee, shielding my eyes from the radiant blast. When the light dimmed, the corridor was littered with stunned enemies and shattered metal. The artifact pulsed steadily now, as if satisfied. I could almost hear it whispering promises of power, of freedom, of chaos. Jax's voice broke through the noise. "Talia, status?" "Alive," I said, breath ragged but steadying. And I think I just woke a sleeping giant. The weight of what I'd done settled over me like a shroud. I wasn't just a smuggler anymore. I was the bearer of something ancient and dangerous. The kind of burden that could either save a dying world or doom 1,000 others. I had no choice but to run and to fight, because whatever came next, I was in. This fight for keeps. I slammed the airlock shut. Behind me, the hiss of decompression fading as the heavy door sealed with a final clang. My breath was ragged, uneven, stabbing through the silence like a warning bell. "No one's coming," I muttered, voice barely above a whisper, but even I wasn't convinced. The eerie silence of the derelict ship pressed in on me, thick and suffocating, like the calm before an impossible storm. I crouched low, fingertips skimming the cold floor. Plates as I edged forward, every nerve screaming for me to move faster, but my mind tangled in shadows I couldn't shake. This ship was supposed to be my refuge, a forgotten ghost out here in the void where no one could find me, no one could betray me. Instead, it had become my cage, and worse, my weapon. My name's Talia. I've been running for so long that trust feels like a myth, a lie told to children who don't know better. After the war shattered everything I once called home, I buried my past under layers of silence and scars. No family, no friends, only shadows and deals, the cargo strapped to my back, that glowing relic sealed inside a container humming with alien energy was both my lifeline and my curse. I was desperate, driven by survival and haunted by ghosts. I never dared speak aloud. I paused, heart thudding hard in my chest, and whispered to myself. Why did I think this? Ship was safe? The corridors stretched ahead, dark and twisting, the metal walls groaning, faintly as if alive, whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Faint lights flickered overhead, casting jittery shadows that danced just beyond the edge of vision. A sudden hiss echoed from deeper in the hull. I froze. Footsteps? No, too slow, deliberate, predatory. I gripped the railing tighter, knuckles white. Get it together, Talia, I told myself. You're not alone, but you're not safe either. Cargo's intact, I whispered into my link, voice coated with tension. But something's wrong. This ship, it's not dead. Can't say I'm surprised. Jax's voice crackled back, static slicing through the airwaves. Derelicts like this don't just sit quietly. You sure you want to be stuck in the belly of a ghost ship with a ticking bomb strapped to your back? I swallowed hard, the weight of the artifact pressing against my spine. Be cold and insistent. It's not just a bomb, it's a key, and I'm the only one who can use it. Great, Jax muttered dryly. Just what we need. You and Nita who knows what. I let out a bitter laugh. Tension momentarily breaking. No one said survival was keen. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the narrow corridors like thunder. Rolling through a valley, I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering so fiercely I was sure it would burst through my ribs. In the dim light, I caught a glimpse of movement. Shadow slipping silently around the corner. Show yourself, I hissed, voice low but sharp, fingers tightening on the blaster at my side. My pulse spiked as a figure stepped into view, tall, gaunt, eyes gleaming like obsidian, mirrors reflecting the ship's faint glow. Their features were alien, twisted by war and time, but their intent was crystal. Clear hunt me, take the cargo, leave nothing behind. They found me, I said to no one but the empty corridor, and I'm running out of time. I darted forward, boots pounding rhythmically against the metal floor as I rounded a bend. The ship moaned again, steel twisting and creaking ominously. My breath caught in my throat. Was it the ship reacting to the artifact, or something worse? Ahead, a console flickered to life, blue light washing over the controls like a siren's call. I didn't hesitate, slamming my palm down on the panel. I brought up the ship's schematics. The corridor shifted, labyrinthine and unfamiliar. but I spotted a potential escape route, a maintenance shaft leading to the lower decks. Aye, Jacks, I've got a way out, I said, voice tight with urgency. But it's risky, risks all. We've got at this point, he replied, calm but taut. What's the plan? I'm heading down the shaft. It's narrow, but it might keep me out of sight. If I'm lucky, the artifacts, power will keep the ships. Systems from collapsing entirely. A sudden shudder ran through the hole, throwing me against the wall. I gritted, my teeth fighting the surge of panic rising in my chest. This ship's waking up, I said. And it's not happy. The footsteps multiplied, closing in like a pack of wolves. I slid open a panel beside the console, revealing a fatch just large enough for me to squeeze through. Climbing in, I felt the cold metal bite into my skin as I pulled myself down into the darkness. The shaft was tight, claustrophobic, but mercifully silent. My breath echoed in my ears as I descended, the faint hum of the artifact pulsing steadily against my back. I tried to focus on the rhythm, pulse, breath, heartbeat, but the memories kept clawing their way up, relentless and unforgiving. I remembered the war, the betrayal that shattered everything. Friends turning into enemies overnight, families torn apart by greed and vengeance. I trusted no one anymore, not even myself. A flicker of movement caught my eye. I froze. From the shadows emerged a figure. Human, worn and ragged like me, but with eyes sharp as a blade. Talia, the voice was low, cautious. You shouldn't be here. I tightened my grip on my blaster, muscles coiled. Who are you? Name's Ryan, he said, stepping closer. I've been tracking the same artifact. Thought I was the only one. Crazy enough to come here. Crazy enough? I smirked, despite the tension. You're lucky I don't shoot you on sight. Fair, he chuckled dryly. But I'm not your enemy. Not yet, anyway. We might need each other if we want to get out alive. I studied him, worn, battle-scarred, but honest. Maybe. Why should I trust you? He shrugged, the weight of his own secrets heavy in the air. You don't have to, but I know this ship better than anyone. And I know what's waiting for us if we stay. The artifact pulsed stronger, almost as if responding to his presence. A low vibration thrummed through the shaft, unsettling, yet strangely comforting. All right, I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. For now we're stuck together. We climbed out of the shaft, into a cavernous chamber deep within the ship's core. The walls here were lined with strange, crystalline structures glowing faintly, with the same blue light as the artifact. The air was thick with energy, crackling softly like static before a storm. Look at this place, Ryan whispered, awe mixing with fear. It's alive! I felt it too. Pulse beneath my skin. A connection between the artifact and the ship. The thing wasn't just a cast's relic. It was a beacon, a heart, maybe even a weapon. Suddenly, the ship trembled violently, throwing us both off balance. Alarms blared, red lights, bathing the chamber in an ominous glow. They're coming, I said, pulling my blaster free. And they want that key. Rin nodded, drawing his own weapon. Then we fight, because if they get that artifact, hiding Parbs, it won't just be us who lose. It'll be the entire galaxy, as the first wave of alien hunters poured into the chamber and I felt the weight of my past and the burden of this. Oh! Ancient power collide. My sanctuary had become a battleground, my cage a crucible. But I wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. I was fighting to control the weapon that could change everything, and I would either rise from the ashes or be consumed by the fire. The shrill alarm tore through the ship's corridors like a scream, cutting through the chaos that had erupted moments before. Hostiles inbound, the AI's voice hissed in my ear, cold and unyielding. My hands trembled as I gripped the console. The flashing red lights reflecting in my wide eyes. Alien pirates closing fast. They're after the cargo. I barely registered the words. My mind was racing, a tempest of fear and adrenaline. I'm Talia. For years, I've danced on the edge of death, smuggling contraband through the darkest reaches of space. But nothing had prepared me for for this the moment when I realized I wasn't just running from pirates. I was running from something I'd just brought back to life. Systems failing, life, signs, strange biosignatures. Detect it, the ship warned again. I had heard those whispers earlier, but chose to ignore them, convincing myself it was nothing more than a glitch. Now, every sensor screamed in protest, and the cold dread settled heavier on my chest. Damn it, Jax, they're boarding us. I barked into the comm link, voice cracking. I'm not sure how much longer we have. Hold tight, Talia. I'm rerouting power to the shields. You just buy me some time. Jax's voice was steady but strained. He was my lifeline, the one person I could count on, even when everything else was falling apart. The corridors around me exploded into turmoil. Metallic clangs echoed as the pirates smashed through bulkheads. I could hear their guttural shouts, a harsh, alien tongue that sent chills crawling up my spine. My breath came in ragged gasps as panic clawed its way up my throat. But beneath that panic was something darker, a gnawing fear that the creature I'd just reanimated wasn't some mindless beast, but a sentinel, an ancient guardian bound to me now. I forced myself to focus. Artifact status? I demanded, eyes flicking to the glowing container strapped to my chest. The blue light pulsed steadily, alive with a power I barely understood. Stable but volatile, my ship's AI replied. Containment fields are weakening. Recommend immediate action. I swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility crushing down. It's not just cargo, I muttered, it's a key, and now it's awake. A sudden, violent shudder rocked the ship, throwing me against the cold wall. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the pirates advanced, their weapons blazing, the air filled with the acrid smell of burning circuits and ozone. I drew my blaster, fingers tightening on the grip as I took aim. Stay sharp, I whispered to myself. This ends now. The first pirate burst into view, a towering figure with obsidian eyes that reflected the flickering lights. His weapon spat deadly bolts, tearing into the walls inches from my head. I fired back, the shots echoing in the confined space. What? The pirate staggered but didn't fall. Damn it, I hissed, ducking. Behind the shattered console, the corridors were a maze of destruction, the perfect hunting ground for these ruthless predators. Suddenly a low growl rolled through the air, vibrating through my bones. The artifact flared, releasing a wave of energy that sent the pirates reeling. The sentinel had stirred. I felt it before I saw it. A hulking silhouette emerging from the shadows, muscles rippling under armored scales, eyes glowing with ancient intelligence. It was massive, a living weapon shaped by a forgotten epoch. The creature's gaze locked onto me, and in that moment I understood. I was no longer just a smuggler. I was its master, and it was my protector or my doom. The sentinel let out a deafening roar, shaking the ship's hull as it surged forward, tearing through the pirates. With terrifying efficiency, I watched, heart pounding, as the corridor became a battlefield. Metal screamed and bodies fell, the air thick with smoke and the smell of burning flesh. Get down, I shouted, diving aside as a stray laser bolt scorched the wall above me. The creature was relentless, its movements fluid and precise despite its size. It moved as if it remembered a war long ago, a guardian summoned to fight once more. Jax, status, I called into. The calm voice grim. Shields are holding but failing fast. You need to get to the bridge and initiate the self-destruct sequence. This ship's a death trap, he warned. Self-destruct. My mind screamed against the idea. Destroy the ship and risk losing the artifact, the key to everything. But what choice did I have? The pirates wouldn't stop, and neither would the sentinel once unleashed. Roy! I glanced down at the creature, now crouched beside me, eyes searching mine. Help me get out of here, I whispered, unsure if it understood words or only the bond that tied us. Without waiting for an answer, Darge, I sprinted toward the stairwell, the sentinel following like a shadow. Each step was a struggle against the wailing alarms and the chaos erupting behind me. The pirates regrouped, their leader snarling, "But!" commands in that guttural tongue. They were desperate, and so was I. Suddenly a blast rocked the hallway, sending me sprawling. Pain flared in my side, but I pushed up, gritting my teeth. "Come on, Talia," I urged myself. "You survived worse." The sentinel turned. The sentinel turned! Blocking a group of attackers with a swipe of its massive arm, its claws rending metal and flesh alike. Its loyalty was absolute, but I could feel it struggling. Against the containment. Fields weakening, the price of reanimation. I reached the bridge. "We all—" Breath ragged, sweat slicking my skin. The console blinked erratically, systems failing one by one. "Initiate self-destruct," I commanded, fingers flying. "Over the controls. Confirm. Sequence," the AI prompted. I hesitated. "Destroy the ship and risk losing the artifact, or let the pirates take it and doom countless others?" "No," I whispered fiercely. "Wait! I won't let that happen." The sentinel's roar echoed through the corridors. Corridors! A warning and a promise. I keyed in the override. Khan delaying the countdown. Ah! There had to be another way. "Jax, I'm not blowing this place up yet." "I have a plan," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside. "Whatever it is, make it quick. They're breaching the last." "Bulkhead," he warned. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. The sentinel. It's not just a beast. It's a guardian, bound to me. If I can control it, maybe we can turn the tide. "Sounds risky," Jax said, but there was a hint of hope. "Risky or not, it's all I've got." The ship lurched violently as the pirates breached the bridge. Blaster fire erupted, and I dove behind the console. The sentinel burst through. "Oh!" The door, a tidal wave of raw power and ancient fury. It tore through the invaders, buying me precious seconds. I reached out mentally, aghast, willing the creature to hold back, to listen. The connection was tenuous, a thread of consciousness linking us. "Protect me," I pleaded silently. "Protect the key." For a moment, the sentinel paused, eyes locking with mine. Then, with a nod that felt like a promise, it turned its fury on the remaining pirates. As the last enemy fell, silence descended, broken only by the ship's failing systems and my ragged breathing. The sentinel stood beside me. Ho! A living monument to a forgotten war, and I felt the weight of my new role settle deep within. I wasn't just a smuggler anymore. I was the reluctant master of a sentinel, the bearer of a power that could change the fate of the galaxy, and the fight was only beginning. Ah! The airlock slammed shut behind us with a resonant clang that echoed through the ship's steel veins, sealing out the chaos. At least for a moment. My heart hammered so fiercely I could almost hear it above, the distant din of battle. "No one's coming," I muttered. To myself, voice low and brittle, though the lie felt hollow. "Whoa!" Even as I spoke it, the silence that followed was thick, oppressive like the breath held before a storm breaks. I pressed my back against the cold metal wall, trying to steady the wild tempest inside me. The alien voices, those merciless hunters, were still out there somewhere, prowling. The corridors, relentless and unforgiving. But inside this derelict husk, I wasn't alone. The creature I'd freed the sentinel was stirring, its presence a primal rumble beneath my skin. It wasn't just a beast. It was a fragment of some forgotten war, a guardian, engineered to protect, a weapon with the power to reset the galaxy. And now it was bound to me. I swallowed hard, fingers brushing the cold container, strapped tightly across my chest. The artifact pulsed with a strange light, alive and humming with energy that made the hairs on my arms stand on edge. I whispered to the darkness, "What have I done?" The question hung heavy. Was I unleashing our salvation or our doom? "Stay sharp, Talia," I told myself, voice barely more than a breath, but even that felt like a lifeline. I couldn't afford doubt. Not now. A faint hiss echoed from the far end of the corridor, a sound so subtle I almost missed it. I froze, every muscle taut. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, predatory or closing in. The ship groaned. Metal, flexing as if alive, reacting to the artifact's awakening. The air thickened, charged with electricity and something darker, something ancient and hungry. Jax, I whispered into my comm, heart pounding. They're here, and the sentinel, it's restless. Static crackled in response. Hold on, Talia. I'm rerouting power to the shields, but they're breaking through. You need to move fast. I swallowed the lump in my throat and rounded the corner. Blaster drawn, senses razor sharp. The flickering lights cast jagged shadows, and every step I took felt like walking deeper into a trap. Then, from the gloom, they appeared. Sleek, elongated, figures with obsidian eyes that glinted like knives. Their weapons ignited, beams slicing the darkness, painting the walls with harsh light. Get down, I hissed, diving behind a bulkhead as laser fire tore through the space I just occupied. Smoke and sparks filled the air, burning circuits sparking wildly. My breath came in ragged gasps, but I forced myself to steady, to focus. From the shadows, a guttural growl rolled out, low and resonant, vibrating through the hull itself. The sentinel emerged. Ah! Hulking colossus of muscle and armored scales, eyes burning with a fierce intelligence. It moved with a predator's grace, a living weapon awakened. After eons of slumber, I locked eyes with it, a silent plea passing between us. Protect me, protect the key, without hesitation. Be, without hesitation. The creature surged forward, claws rending metal and flesh with brutal efficiency. The aliens faltered, caught off guard by the sentinel's ferocity. Their leader, a scarred figure, snarling orders in that harsh, guttural tongue, stumbled back, eyes wide with disbelief. I seized the moment, firing bursts from my blaster, keeping the enemies pinned, while the sentinel tore through their ranks. Ah! The corridors echoed with the cacophony of battle metal, screeching alien cries, the relentless hum of the artifact pulsing against my chest. Jax, status, I barked, ducking behind the shattered console. Shields are failing fast, he replied, voice tense but steady. You need to get to the bridge and initiate self-destruct. This ship's a death trap. Self-destruct, the word slammed into me like a hammer blow. Destroy the ship and risk losing the artifact forever. But if I didn't, the pirates would claim it, and worse, the sentinel might spiral beyond control. I glanced at the Guardian, crouching beside me, its breath hot and ragged, muscles coiled like a spring. Its eyes searched mine. Ah! Fierce and wild, but strangely trusting. It was bound to me, but the connection was fragile, a precarious thread woven between desperation and raw power. We don't have to destroy it, I whispered fiercely. Like a bah! There's another way. The sentinel growled low. Ooh! Sound that seemed to answer my promise. I sprinted toward the stairwell, the beast a shadow at my heels, the alien attackers regrouping and pressing harder. A blast rocked the hallway, pain flaring in my side, but I pushed through, teeth clenched. Come on, Talia, you've survived worse. We reached the bridge. Systems flickering wildly, alarms screaming. The console blinked erratically. Life signs fluctuating. The artifact's glow pulsing. Brighter, threatening to burst free. I slammed my hands on the controls. Initiate self-destruct sequence, I ordered, fingers flying over the keys. Confirm sequence, the AI prompted. I hesitated, breath hitching. The sentinel's roar echoed through the corridors, a thunderous promise and warning. No, I whispered, overriding the command. Not yet. Jax, I'm not blowing this place up, I said, voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. I have a plan. There was a pause. Then his voice, taut with urgency. Whatever it is, make it quick. They're breaching the last bulkhead. I took a shaky breath. Hey, the sentinel is not just a beast. It's a guardian, bound to me. If I can control it, maybe we can turn the tide. Sounds risky, Jack said, but beneath the static, I heard a note of hope. Risky or not, it's all I've got. The door burst open, pirates flooding the room. Blaster fire erupted, and I dove behind the console. As the sentinel charged in, like a force of nature, it tore through them with terrifying precision, a whirlwind of ancient wrath. I closed my eyes for a split second and reached out to the creature, to the artifact, to the fragile bond between us. Protect me. Protect the key. The sentinel's eyes met. Mine again. A nod of understanding passing between us before it turned back to the fray. As the last attacker fell, silence descended. A fragile calm edged with the hum of the artifact and the sentinel's steady breathing. I sank to my knees, the weight of what I'd unleashed settling like a stone in my gut. I wasn't just a smuggler anymore. I was the master of a monster, the bearer of a power buried in the ghosts of a war far larger than me. Was I salvation or apocalypse? Only one thing was certain. This fight was far from over. I gritted my teeth as the sentinel's heavy footsteps, "What?" echoed behind me, the heat of its breath like a living furnace against my skin. The wreckage of the battle stretched out before us, smoldering metal, shattered consoles sparking erratically, and the bodies of fallen enemies and allies alike. The air was thick with smoke, and the electric hum of the artifact pulsating against my chest, its blue light flickering like a heartbeat. The weight of choice pressed down on me heavier than any blaster or armor. Destroy the weapon and its guardian, ending the threat once and for all, or harness their power to reshape everything the galaxy had become. I exhaled slowly, trying to steady the storm raging inside. The sentinel loomed at my side, eyes glowing softly in the dim light, muscles tense but waiting for what I wasn't sure. Its presence was both, shield and a sword, a living weapon forged in ancient wars, now bound to me in a fragile, terrifying bond. "Tell me, old friend," I whispered, fingers brushing the rough scales along its neck. "Are we saviors or harbingers of destruction?" The creature's low rumble vibrated through the floor. "Gah!" A sound I felt like understanding, or perhaps a warning. I turned back to the shattered console, scanning the flickering schematics of the derelict ship and the data streaming from the artifact. It was alive. More than alive. It was sentient, a nexus of power and memory woven into the fabric of time itself. I wasn't just holding a weapon. I was holding a legacy, a choice that could either ignite a new era or plunge everything into chaos. Jax's voice crackled through the con, breaking the heavy silence. "Talia, status, your radio silent." I hesitated, the weight of the moment pinning my words. "We're still standing for now," I replied, voice rough but steady. "The sentinel's with me. The artifact. It's awake, Jax. And it's not just a tool. It's a force." There was a pause, then a breath. "You sure you want to keep that thing alive? After everything?" "I don't have a choice," I said, the truth bitter on my tongue. "Destroying it means losing everything, the power to change this broken galaxy. But if I misuse it, I could doom us all." Jax's voice softened, a rare flicker of concern. "You're carrying a hell of a burden, Talia. Just don't let it consume you." I clenched my jaw. "I won't." The sentinel shifted beside me, a ripple of movement that caught my attention. Its eyes locked with mine, fierce and unyielding. In that moment, I saw not a monster, but a partner. A guardian bound by duty and now by choice. The corridors trembled again, distant alarms fading into a low thrum as the ship's systems struggled to stabilize. The artifact's glow pulsed, rhythmically, syncing with the sentinel's breath. The bond between us was fragile, a thread woven from desperation, trust, and raw power. I stood, stepping carefully through the wreckage toward the containment chamber where the weapon was housed. The shattered hull groaned like a wounded beast, but I felt the artifact's pulse guiding me forward, a beacon in the darkness. Time's running out, I muttered, fingers tightening around my blaster. Whatever I choose, it has to be now. At the chamber entrance, the sentinel paused, muscles, coiled, eyes scanning the shadows. You ready? I asked, voice barely audible. A low growl was the only answer. What? But it was enough. I slid the door open, revealing the weapon, ancient, massive, and humming with barely contained energy. The air crackled, charged, with a power that was both beautiful and terrifying. The sentinel stepped forward, placing a clawed hand on the weapon's surface, and I felt a surge ripple through me. This thing, I breathed. It could end wars or start them anew. The artifact's core pulsed, brighter, responding to the sentinel's touch. I reached out, placing my hand beside its massive claw, feeling the energy flow between us. "Ah, look at us," I said softly, a bitter laugh escaping. Two broken souls, bound to a weapon too big for either of us to control alone. Suddenly, the shadow shifted, and a voice echoed through the chamber, cold, sharp, and filled with ancient authority. "You should have destroyed it. So, when you had the chance," the voice said. From the darkness stepped the last guardian, an ethereal figure cloaked in shifting light and shadow, eyes burning with millennia of sorrow and resolve. I raised my blaster instinctively. "Who are you?" The guardian's gaze softened, but the words cut deep. "I am the last sentinel of this weapon's true purpose. Its power was meant to preserve balance, not to be wielded as a weapon of conquest." I swallowed hard, the gravity of their words anchoring me. Balance, that's what I'm trying to find. The galaxy's torn apart by greed and war. Maybe this power can heal it. The guardians stepped closer, their form flickering like a flame, or it can consume it. "We stand at a crossroads, Talia. Destroy the weapon and end its cycle, or claim its power, and risk repeating the mistakes of those who came before." I glanced at the sentinel. Beside me, its eyes steady and unwavering. "Oh!" It was more than a beast. It was a protector, a symbol of the ancient war's legacy, and now it was my ally. "What if," I began cautiously, "we don't destroy it? What if we forge an alliance, between humanity and this power? A fragile truce that could reshape the future." The guardians studied me, silence stretching between us like a fragile thread. Finally, they nodded slowly. "Hope is a dangerous thing," the guardian said. "Oh, but it is also necessary. We will stand with you, not as masters, but as partners." Relief and uncertainty crashed over me in equal measure. The choice was not destruction, nor domination, but cooperatio, and a chance to rewrite the fate of a fractured galaxy. I turned to the sentinel, BR, placing a hand on its massive shoulder. "Together, then." The creature's eyes glowed softly. "Bo!" A deep rumble vibrating through the chamber, an ancient promise reborn, as the derelict ship hummed. With renewed life, I felt hope flicker, a fragile light in the vast void. The galaxy's future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time I believed we could shape it. No longer just victims of war, we were its reckoning, and I was ready to fight for that future, no matter the cost.